Hello Instagram, how are we? Andy Shepherd here from NXT UK. And of course we're 30 minutes away from tonight's episode of NXT UK, and it's a special one. Tonight we'll be charting the rise of Imperium, and in just a few moments time, when he joins us, we will have the man himself, the United Kingdom champion. Walter will be here to talk about himself, to talk about how he's holding up in these times, and of course talk about Imperium, about its growth, about its dominance. So very excited about talking to the Ring General. Are we all going to watch NXT UK tonight? Are we all going to tune in? Well, there's plenty of you here. Welcome one and all. Yes, Walter will be here, the Ring General, the leader of Imperium. What will he have to say? I'm excited. I want to see how he is. I want to see how he's holding up in these tough times. I want to see how he's staying ready as well. Of course, we know right now that Ilya Dragunov is the number one contender. Where it will happen, when it will happen, these are things we do not know yet. But what we do know is it will happen. So looking forward to seeing how Walter is staying ready for that threat. And it is a threat. Ilya Dragunov is no joke. He's proven he's a competitor that can step up to anyone. Of course, we saw him in there against Cesaro. We saw him in there against Finn Balor. So, hey, how will he deal when he gets in there against Walter? I'm excited to see how he is. How is the big man? How are you? How are you all? The NXT universe. So tonight, remember, 8 o'clock in the UK on the WWE Network, you can catch this week's episode of NXT UK. All right, let's try and get in Walter. This is the technical bit. Let's see where the Ring General is. Yes, Walter, welcome.
Good evening.
How are you? First of all, it's been a while since we spoke, since the WWE, since the NXT universe heard from you. How are you holding up in these unusual times?
Holding up very good, thank you. Me and my family, we live on the countryside anyway, so it's very quiet usually. So there wasn't much change for us actually. But
okay, good.
Things are picking up in Germany now. They had a lot of reopenings announced yesterday, so life is picking up.
That's good. That's good to hear. And how are you staying ready? I was just mentioning before you jumped on that a lot of things are uncertain right now. But what we do know is in your future is Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov right now is the number one contender. So unless you lose your championship before that match occurs, you and Dragunov will be meeting. So how are you staying ready for the challenge of Dragunov?
I was lucky enough to actually get some equipment done, or buy some equipment to work on at home in the garden. Our garden is big enough, and that's where I do my exercises now. So it's actually, with the quiet times right now, I actually had more time to focus on training and prepare. So whenever we're ready to come back, or whenever we are able to come back, I'm gonna be prepared.
And what kind of Walter will we see when you get back in the ring? I've talked to some people who said that actually this time off, it's allowed them to recover. I mean, you guys go so hard, you often have niggles. Has this time helped you recover from anything that was bugging you before?
I think I was well before the break as well. And I think what really helps me now is to get my mind distracted, to get my mind away a little bit, and rethink a lot of things. And I think people tend to overthink and go too deep into things they really want to accomplish. And I'm a believer of distance. Distance is very important. Sometimes you got to work hard and then have distance again. And I think I'm gonna be coming back. I'm gonna be the best version of me so far.
Well, let's talk about yourself and Imperium, because you're a faction that has, I mean, you've dominated NXT UK and you dominated the NXT universe. Let's talk about the three men who stand beside you: Alexander Wolf, Marcel Bartel, and Fabian Eichner. When you were united, what was it about those three competitors that made you want to bring them together?
Um, we were connected before WWE, before our time in WWE, and Marcel, Alexander, and myself. Fabian is basically the guy I just recently met and recently got to know. But if you look at our history, like how we came up in wrestling, I think it kind of makes sense because coming from Germany, it's not like it is in England that there's a big wrestling scene. Um, Wrestling was huge in the German-speaking countries in the 60s, 70s, 80s until the early 90s with tournaments. They ran the shows like, let's say, Vienna. They had 60 days in a row. They had matches going on, a big tournament. That's how I got to know wrestling. That's where Marcel's dad had his high times on those tournaments in Vienna, in my hometown. My parents actually went to watch Marcel's dad compete.
Wow.
But at a certain time, the tournament stopped and the wrestling business stopped. So we never had role models to look up to directly and learn from. So basically, we had to find our own. We had to build our own. We had to build our own wrestling scene, the wrestling sport back again, and our idols and were our forefathers that we never experienced in person, but we just know about, like reading books and studying the history of. And we try to carry that legacy, and now we built it back up in Germany. We did our part for that, and now we try to spread the message into the world of professional wrestling. And Fabian himself, he was a very talented athlete his whole life. He was supposed to go in the national team for professional skiing, which in the countries around the Alps is a very respected and a very popular sport. And he changed his life around just for professional wrestling because he wanted it that much. That guy lives in the north of Italy. Around there, there's no wrestling school around. So that man had to travel hours every weekend to learn the sport. So that's what connects us. We're all driven by the passion we have for the sport, and that's why we step in the ring.
And there's no denying that you are one of the most dominant factions in the entire WWE universe. And if people hadn't heard of you before, they definitely did when it came to Worlds Collide that was early this year. Imperium went up against the Undisputed Era, who are, again, an incredibly dominant faction. They've ruled NXT for a very long time, but it was you guys that came out on top. How pivotal a moment was Worlds Collide for Imperium?
Yeah, I think it was the first big statement of the group because it was the first big fight we had in the main event match on a takeover style show, and I think it was the biggest statement for us so far. And looking how the fight went down, and it was a big shock. Like right at the beginning when Alexander got knocked out very early, it was we were all shocked. And it was we had to go to plan B that we couldn't prepare. And I think especially Marcel and Fabian stepped up big time in this fight. And I think at the end what made the difference was that we stuck together. For us it was clear there's no step back. And I think it was mind over body at the end of the day after a draining fight like this. And I think that's why we succeeded.
Another match that has defined yourself and defined the reign of Imperium was, of course, when you captured the NXT United Kingdom Championship from Pete Dunne a little over a year ago now. How was that experience to finally hold a belt like the United Kingdom Championship?
It was obviously the fight with Pete Dunne was my first big. It was the biggest match in my career so far. And going into that, maybe it was the fight where I felt the most pressure so far. And I was really happy how everything worked out at the end. And I felt very proud. Pete itself is a outstanding athlete, a very good professional wrestler. But I think in his long run he had with the NXT UK Championship, uh, yeah, he wasn't prepared for an opponent like myself. I think I was the first athlete in my size, the style I wrestle, and all those things. I was the first guy he ever stood in the ring with, who was, yeah, nobody. He never wrestled anyone like me before.
Yeah, look, everyone in the NXT UK universe is still trying to figure out the problem that is Walter, including Pete's stablemate, Tyler Bate, who you also faced at TakeOver Cardiff. Incredible match once again. How was it to face Tyler Bate, who was, of course, the inaugural United Kingdom champion?
Yeah, it was. Tyler took me to my absolute limit. It was one of the longest fights I had so far, and especially for if you look at the matchup, the size difference, the weight difference. Mm. Usually those matches really go kind of short, but that speaks for Tyler that he was able to drag it out for such a long time. But at the end, I think I'm almost 10 years older than Tyler, and I also have a 10-year advantage in my wrestling career on Tyler, and I think, yeah, it was not his time.
Look, NXT UK is a very unique brand, and that's been part of its popularity. For yourself, what is it that makes NXT so special? Of course, you yourself kind of embody the unique style, the unique approach of NXT UK.
What is interesting and what makes NXT UK stand out is that it's a European professional wrestling product, and along with that, it comes that it has its own style, and which is very influenced from the styles of European wrestling, obviously. And also, what's very interesting now, I think it's a very young brand. It's everything is still fresh and everything is still new. So the style is gonna develop, and it's gonna change, and it's gonna grow. And yeah, and at the moment, it's on me or on us to set the tone of and guide the direction of where the brand goes.
How does it feel for you to be the figurehead? You're the NXT United Kingdom champion. How does it feel to be the figurehead of a brand that is is still so young yet is growing so quickly?
Honestly, I don't really. That's not the view I have on the situation. My main focus is always to, whenever I step in the ring, I want to represent the sport in the best way possible. My only fear is that I'm an embarrassment to professional wrestling. That's what I want to avoid. And being dominant in a new upcoming brand like NXT UK is what it takes to represent the sport in the way that it should be represented. That's the way I think of it.
And of course, look, tonight's episode of NXT UK is all about the rise of Imperium. So no doubt everyone watching here will want to watch that and see how you guys have taken over NXT UK, but also spread your wings across the NXT universe. And I know next week, Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel will be challenging for the NXT Tag Team titles against Matt Riddle and Thatcher. How closely will you be watching and supporting your stablemates next week?
Yeah, I'm going to watch as close as possible by a digital item I'm going to use, because it's not, obviously, if I could, I would be stateside for this day, but I obviously won't be able. I know they're both preparing very focused. We talk daily about things, talk daily about ideas and strategies. So yeah, I 100% believe that Marcel and Fabian will be NXT Tag Team Champions by next week.
And how closely will you be watching tonight's NXT UK? Of course, you guys have NXT UK is such a young brand, and you guys have not been in the brand even since its inception, but you've caused so much attention to come to the brand. How closely will you be watching back and enjoying some of the memories that you created?
I think it's not about how closely I'm going to watch, because I already know what I did. I think everybody else should watch, learn, and figure out a way if they want to step up and better understand that, yeah, they got to bring something I'm not aware of. But Yeah.
We talked about your stablemates, Marcel, Fabian, Alexander. What kind of an Imperium will we see when finally you can all come back together and unite? I mean, you talked about yourself, about be able to refocus and recoup. When you've all come back together, having had the opportunity, what kind of a force will Imperium be bringing to the NXT UK universe?
You're going to see Imperium carrying 2 championships instead of 1. That's what you're going to see when we all come back together.
Well, Walter, it's been great to talk to you. Of course, everyone watching now, please tune in to NXT UK tonight. It's 8 o'clock in the UK time. That's 3 o'clock Eastern time in the United States. NXT UK, all about the rise of Imperium. Follow this man's rise through the ranks. I can't wait to tune in and relive all those moments. Walter, thank you so much for joining me and joining this Instagram Live. Look forward to seeing you back in action very soon. Look forward to seeing what Imperium will bring when you're all back together.
Thank you very much, Andy, and let's see you soon.
Stay safe, Walter. Take care. Right, guys, thank you very much for joining. That's Walter. As I said, you can join NXT UK. We're going to be on the WWE Network at 8 o'clock in the UK. That is 3 o'clock Eastern time in the United States. Of course, you can catch it anytime on demand. Come and relive some incredible moments. And the matches that will be included tonight are standout. We've seen them, but they are match of the year type contenders. So join us in, 15 minutes on the WWE Network. From me, Andy Shepherd, thank you. And I'll speak to you again soon.